Green Lantern War Journal, issue 8, Phillip Kennedy Johnson with Montos on art. And we now know this is a 12-issue book, so we've only got 4 issues left after this.
We're entering the last arc. This is the three arc structure, you know?
You mean act?
3 act.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm tired. Not arc.
It's been pretty much just one arc, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I'm tired, guys. I've had too much caffeine, but also not enough. I'm at that weird third zombie state.
That's fine. So yeah, we've got a Lantern Shepherd going to Guy Gardner's place to try and get help, and Gardner's too busy. He's off hunting Lobo or whatever he's doing in the backups of Green Lantern. But his security system turns on, which is all Green Lantern stuff, and talks to Shepherd. And Shepherd explains what's going on. He's like, "Oh, I hate multiverse guys, but if you have to help John, I do have something that might help. It's in the back of the closet." And then when we come back to this, I'll just get to it now. At the end of the book, it turns out the thing that he's got at the back of his closet is the Book of Oa, which might help with everything going on. So, and Shepherd's like, "You've got this at the back of the closet behind your shoes."
Yeah, no one's gonna look there. I can think how that's why Gardner put it there. But yeah, that was all a lot of fun stuff. Just the Green Lantern construct of like the camcorder and the security stuff. I thought that was all very inspired, silly art.
Yeah, obviously the main bulk of the issue though, it's John trapped in this, like, you know,
the Dark Star of the Fen.
There you go. That's what they called it. Yes. But they're, you know, he's getting to know these others that are trapped in there. They're fighting these big sort of constructs that are kind of like the Radiant Dead energy, but they're not actually the Radiant Dead.
Not quite. Yeah.
They do point that out, so it's good to know that. Obviously, that character that was in here from before, who I don't know if we mentioned this on the show, but someone did tell us in the comments that's a character from Warworld that we just forgot about.
Yes and no. So I did some research on this before.
Oh, go on then. All right.
Yeah.
What's the deep dive?
The Warworld character was Byla Esh. This is Byla Vok. All right. And I know that seems...
okay.
Yeah, I know that seems like not a big detail. However, he first calls John Stewart the Builder, right? And the only people that call John Stewart the Builder are people from where Lantern Shepherd's from, right? However, what we learned about, which I forgot about until this deep dive, until being reminded also, that Byla Esh was a servant of Olgrun, the first, you know, of the first world, the old god, right? Who gave one of the super twins the power. He has the fire of Olgrun.
And Olgrun is brought up in this issue as well. They talk about the power of Olgrun.
So Olgrun, also from the Warworld saga, was so powerful that the rest of the gods had to separate him into 7 different aspects. And they scattered it not across the universe, but the multiverse.
Oh,
so,
okay.
In the grand scheme of things, of Phillip Kennedy Johnson telling this epic story, right, is I feel that Byla Vok is also a servant of Olgrun, but from whatever we're in the multiverse that the Builder's from.
So this is only the second of 2 parts of 7.
Yes. And that Ultho, I think it's Ultho, who has the fire of Olgrun, whatever power Byla Vok is using to keep, you know, the hole open, which we'll get to, keep the Dark Star open, is probably the second aspect. That's why it's trying to come through, because it's not being used. I think, you know, it's trying to unify with the other powers, right? Because Olgrun, I feel like the end game for Phillip Kennedy Johnson is Olgrun coming back together.
I can see some big event. I don't think this means 7 stories though, and one per story. I suspect maybe you'll get one more, and then there'll be an event where the first part of the event is the last, like, 4 of them all quickly coming together or something.
Something along those lines. But I do like
interesting.
That, you know, that it makes it feel like this is not just, you know, Superman Warworld story. This is a story across DC. You know, that Phillip Kennedy Johnson's using his, you know, he likes the high fantasy kind of stuff, and he's throwing that into the superheroes, and it's making it feel epic in that way.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, when they were mentioning Olgrun, I was like, okay, like this deep sort of pull from his other run is quite interesting, because he's doing a lot of interesting things, even just with the characters on their own here. You know, John steps in to try and help the people who are trapped here, which he does. And we get back to them later. We go back to his mother with the, you know, the construct of the sister. But notably, a voice starts coming from the window, presumably of her dead husband, saying, "Let me in." You know, that girl's not real, stuff like that. And then we see all the guards outside the house, who are all constructs, by the way. They're all just part of the constructs. Are like, "Hey, we detect some radiant like energy in here. Something's got inside." And we see just the creepy eyes watching from like a crevice up in the ceiling. So I like this. This was a fun little horror movie kind of moment.
Yeah, I like that all the constructs are Marines, right? Like John. So of course that's part of his. As we know, his sister is part of, you know, his essence. That's why he left her behind to take care of mom. So I do like that. That was cool. But yeah, the creepy eyes at the end. I was like, ooh, this is a tone shift. I like it.
Yeah, it's a fun little vibe because obviously you've got like just sort of antics almost with Shepard and Guy's interactions, because that's just mostly fun. This is more like horror movie, simple, like there's an evil force coming and like can the constructs protect her kind of thing. Because, you know, it's specifically going after the mom and like try to tell her that this is a lie and try to break her. And you get a couple of, you know, there's that panel where like a tear goes down her eye. And it's not until the daughter goes back out and like sort of comforts her and says, "Hey, come and, you know, lie with me." But she looks still kind of distraught when she's lying down.
Yeah, and as the sister's saying, it was just a bad dream.
But it feels
trying
like,
to comfort her.
It feels like she's just trying to comfort her, but is it too late? Like is the bridge been crossed kind of thing? But that's interesting. But yeah, the aliens try to explain to John that they're trapped in here and that the big the black star that's there is kind of like a singularity that sucks people in, and that's how they got trapped here, and nothing can get out. So it really sets up that there's no way to get out, kind of thing. But you know, that's when our character here, Bela Vok, jumps in and starts offering his help effectively. So, but obviously he seems quite, you know, villainous as he's saying it, though. It feels like he's
and that was kind of but don't forget I forgot in Warworld when Clark had to get the fire of Olgren, he transformed into this gigantic worm, and essentially Superman had to prove his worth if he's worthy of the power.
That's true.
Right? Which then he turns and gives it to Ultho. So I'm wondering if here, because it says Biola's saying that, you know, the gravity storm's the only thing keeping the creatures contained, and there's no end to them. And without it, the time-space streak, which you call the Dark Star, will grow till its poison light is all there is. So it's kind of like this push and pull thing where, you know, they're at a stalemate, and that's why they're stuck there. So it adds that level of difficulty for John too. But him being the builder, right, he thinks of things all on that level that you feel like this is his test, like Superman's test was the worm.
Yeah, curious to see where this goes. Definitely it feels like a reread of Warworld Saga followed by this before whatever Johnson does next would probably benefit everyone, I think. But it does feel like an epic kind of sprawling thing that's, you know, be really interested to see if he gets to do whatever he wants to do with all this, because this doesn't feel like it's ending it. You know, this doesn't feel like it's going to wrap all this up. It feels like no, we're just going to end whatever this chapter is with John Stewart, and that's it.
And almost, I don't want side quest to sound like it's beneath it, but it does feel like a side quest in the grand scheme of things. Well, you know that
I don't think that's fair, because I feel like the Olgren stuff in Warworld Saga was also pretty minimal. I would say that the Olgren stuff has just been like a background. Well, maybe background's too strong, but it's been a smaller part of things that are doing their own stories as well. Because this Olgren thing, I don't think necessarily. I don't think that ties into what the Revenant Queen and the Radiant Dead are, or the other stuff going on in the book. I think this is just where they've put John Stewart is going to have him cross paths with this. That'll then feed into whatever he's building in the same way that we also have part of it in one of the Super Kids going forward. So it feels like whatever the next thing is, I presume again it'll be Johnson doing a mini or maybe a run on a character and part of the run will, like this, feature another part of that puzzle.
Yeah.
And then, probably after that point, maybe they'll finally do like, okay, this is the old run Chronicles or whatever they'll call it.
Something along those lines. Yeah. Well, that's what I meant by side quest, and I didn't have another way to process that, right? But it's a piece of this that's going to join up to the larger story.
Yeah. No, pretty good. Obviously, Montos's art is fantastic once again. Yep. We're really spoiled this week. I think the moodiness. Stuart at one point puts on like that lantern armor. He makes a sort of construct of armor to sort of fight the big dragony thing, and that'll look quite cool. It's expressive. It's good with the shadows. I say the same things every time, but very very good. And the emotional stuff with the mom is still hitting really hard. And so much of that is on how the artist is like managing those reactions and expressions on their faces. So, yeah, very good. All right, what are you rating War Journal?
I'm going to give this one a 9.
Oh, okay. I didn't go that high. I did enjoy it. I think it'll read better when I've got everything from Warworld Saga fresher in my head again. But I am digging what it's setting up and where it's going, so I'm going 8 out of 10.